Your body creates associations with places. You want to make sure your bed is a place where it's like, it's relaxing, it's time for bed, you can read a little bit, of course, sex. Other than that, like, you definitely don't want to be watching TV in bed. If you have a TV in your bedroom, like, get that thing out of there. Nothing wrecks sleep more than like a TV in your bedroom. Hello and welcome to the Weaponized Body Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Hewitt. And today we're going to hit on a metabolic episode featuring the number one underrated health problem, in my opinion. This is based on clinical experience with seeing thousands of patients over the last 15 years and based on my own N=1 experiment. And that is chronic sleep deprivation, or just chronic sleep issues in general. So the reason I say this is the number one underrated health problem is that I see a lot of people that are chronic, like, they're trying to hack, I guess, their nutrition. They're really dialing into their macronutrients. They're looking at supplementation. They're doing blood work. They're spending money on things like IVs and red light therapy. And they're, looking at their training programs. They're always trying to do like the latest and greatest, training hack. They're doing even like stress reduction types of stuff, meditation, and all this stuff. And all the meanwhile, they're sleeping like shit. And either A, they don't know it, or B, they've just minimized the importance of it. And hopefully this episode, one of the things you're going to take away from it is, like, you can track your macros, you can optimize your workouts, you can take all the supplements in the world, but if you're sleeping like shit, you are fucking yourself severely. Sleep is the foundation of physical, mental, and hormonal health. Yet it's often overlooked, especially in younger people, I think. When I say younger people, I mean those in, let's say, late 20s, 30s, even early 40s, where you've been able to get away with, not sleeping optimally for a long time. I believe it's one of those things that you can get by with sleeping, let's say, like 5, maybe 6 hours, or you're chronically interrupted in your sleep patterns. And you can get away with this for a while. You can, pound caffeine. You can take other stimulants. You can take naps. You can do all these things to, try to get by with the shitty sleep that you're getting. But over time, that shit catches up with you. And what it does, it sabotages your hormonal health across the board. And what I mean by that, we're talking thyroid hormone, we're talking testosterone and all the derivatives and estrogens. We're talking everything that correlates to your metabolism, your cortisol levels, and neurotransmitter activities as well. We're talking things like serotonins and melatonins and acetylcholines, all these things that they become imbalanced. And really what we're doing in that practice is we're getting away from what's natural. And when you get away from what's natural, which your body requires in order to have proper reset, you end up with adaptations. And your body is freaking amazing. Your body is able to adapt to almost anything. I'm just always, weekly surprised by the adaptations that the human body is able to get away with. And we call these adaptations pathologies in a lot of cases. Like elevated blood pressure, for example, and cardiovascular disease is one of the number one health-related problems when it comes to sleep deprivation. And that particular problem in general adds $16 billion to the healthcare system per year. It's one of those things that if you're not sleeping properly, those are the symptoms that and you end up having later in life. It takes a while for heart disease to build. It takes a while for, blood pressure to cause its damage. It's called the silent killer for a reason. So it sabotages a lot of things, your cardiovascular health included, your brain and neurological health included, your hormonal system, and your sex drive. So what we're going to discuss today is we're going to discuss how sleep wraps into all those problems and hidden habits that are maybe wrecking your sleep and how to fix them. So we'll get into like the dark side of sleep deprivation at first here. So let's talk about the hormonal chaos that sleep loss causes. And when I'm talking about sleep loss, we're talking about less than optimal sleep. Um, Studies have shown that optimal sleep for a human organism, it varies through your lifetime. Of course, when you're younger, you need more sleep. When you're in your teenage years, you need tons of sleep. And as you age, the requirement for sleep dips a little bit, but it never dips lower than, let's say, 6.5 to 7 hours. You probably know somebody who sleeps like 4 or 5 hours a night. I know there's a few people that I know that I follow on social media, or even some of my mentors that I've had, and they somehow are able to get away with this like 5 hours of sleep a night. It's bananas. It's massively productive, I suppose. If you're able to, I guess, adapt to that type of sleep deprivation. But what happens is if you really look under the hood, you'll see how that chronic sleep deprivation affects you over time. And there's things you can do to compensate for it, but you can never biohack your way out of shitty sleep. Studies have shown it drops your testosterone levels by 15% just even after a week of bad sleep. When you sleep poorly, you wake up with poor blood sugars as well. It's one of the number one biomarkers that I see when I'm doing routine blood work with people is fasting blood sugar that is elevated in the morning. And that has to do with your ability to reset your insulin levels, reset your resting blood sugar levels, which include a few hormones in the body like cortisol and etc. So if you're waking up with chronically high blood sugar, you're essentially setting yourself up for more what's called advanced glycation, which means that basically you're just caramelizing your body slowly over time by not giving your body or your metabolism the ability to reset and recover. And there's all sorts of things you can do to improve that result, but sleep is one of the big ones. Your growth hormone. Most of you have probably heard of growth hormone before. It is it comes from your brain, comes from your pituitary or hypothalamus, and growth hormone is very important for anti-aging. And growth hormone is also a hormone that it stimulates the production of something called IGF-1 in your liver. So growth hormone and IGF-1, they do the similar things in your body. Anti-aging is really the best way for me to describe it. It helps with recovery and muscle building, burning fat. It's really important for almost every function in your body: optimal immune function, optimal athletic performance, optimal brain performance, etc. And these are, you can literally type this into PubMed and you're going to see hundreds of studies on how chronic sleep deprivation, it crushes your hormones like testosterone, like growth hormone, and how it increases cortisol. And it increases cortisol at inopportune times. When your cortisol is ideally the highest is right first thing in the morning. It's part of the sleep-wake cycle. So when you're obeying nature and you're sleeping when it gets dark and you're winding down, you sleep during the dark hours in the middle of the night, and you start to wake as it becomes morning, your cortisol levels rise, and that's part of the sleep-wake cycle that your body goes through. And if there's cortisol dysfunction, your cortisol will spike and rise in the middle of the night. And there's different reasons for that, stress being one of the major reasons. But it makes fat burning very, very difficult. If you're having a lot of body composition issues, you're having problems like losing body fat, particularly around your midsection and your waist, look at your sleep. Sleep is, one of the most important things to look at when it comes to shifting body composition. So don't minimize that. Also, when you have chronic sleep loss, it actually it contributes to more cravings. So you'll actually it messes with your hunger mechanisms. You may have heard of hormones called leptin and ghrelin. Those are like satiety and hunger hormones. It starts to dysregulate those hormones, which derive in your brain, and it dysregulates your cravings. So you may start to crave, sugar and energy, because cortisol is catabolic. In other words, it breaks down, it creates energy in your body for your body to burn, and it stimulates this appetite for sugar, which inevitably will decrease something called your insulin sensitivity. Remember from past episodes, we talked about insulin and how it's a hormone that helps you use sugar in the body. Your pancreas makes it. And when your pancreas makes insulin, it's in response to blood sugar. Okay. If you have chronically high blood sugar, your cortisol is chronically high, your insulin's chronically high, that is a recipe for messed up sleep, and it snowballs. You end up with being fatter, lowering your immune function, screwing up your digestion, screwing up your brain chemistry, screwing up your hormones. It's just like a whole downward spiral, which leads to higher body fat storage, especially around that midsection. If you're having gym or performance issues, whether it's in the gym or the bedroom, poor sleep decreases your muscle mass as well as your endurance. You're basically, what's happening is you're getting less REM sleep. So rapid eye movement sleep. So you can think about sleep in 4 different stages. There's REM sleep, and then there's light sleep, which there's a couple stages of light sleep, and then there's deep sleep. And if you're not hitting all of these sleep cycles throughout the night, which you go in and out of those cycles, your brain doesn't get a chance to reorganize, and your hormones don't get a chance to reset. So this eventually lowers your sex drive. It can lead to things like erectile dysfunction. Particularly, you wake up in a lot of cases with mental fog, which leads to slower reaction time, poor focus, all that kind of stuff, which a lot of people don't correlate their brain function with sleep. But if you've ever heard of disasters like Chernobyl, you've ever heard of disasters like 3 Mile Island, the Exxon Valdez oil spill, these are all results they've shown from chronic sleep deprivation. So these lead to things that are immeasurable, unrecoverable problems, like workplace hazards. I would say there's a lot of car accidents that are probably related to chronic sleep deprivation, just mental errors, problems with focus, etc. So let's hit on some hidden sleep killers that maybe you've heard of some of these being problems, maybe you haven't, but I'm going to strongly recommend you look into these. So one of the things that changed my life when it came to, I hate the word biohacking, but I like the word like bio-optimization. It helped me optimize my performance, my mental clarity, my confidence, my sex drive, my libido, all this stuff, particularly my recovery. And what I did is I invested in a tool, a sleep tool. I use the Whoop. I've been using it since 2018. I'm a geek. I love data and I love to measure things. You don't necessarily have to invest in a sleep tracker, but if you're suspecting your sleep is an issue, I'm going to strongly recommend investing in a Whoop or an Oura ring. It can at least give you some form of an idea of how much you're actually sleeping and how much light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep you're getting. One of the things that screws up sleep more than anything that people seem to, one of the habits, I should say, that contributes to wrecking your sleep the most is alcohol. So I used to drink a bottle of wine, well, not a whole bottle, but my wife and I used to drink wine almost every night. This was a habit. I don't know where it came from. But her and I would just kind of chill at night and have a glass of wine. And I never really put a lot of emphasis on this about how much it contributed to like that grogginess feeling in the morning and just kind of trouble getting up. But once I invested in a Whoop, I saw like, oh my God, when I drink alcohol, my resting heart rate increases, meaning my body's working harder to try to get rid of this alcohol. And if you know anything about alcohol metabolism, it breaks down into all these things like phenylalanines and poisons, basically. And your body and your liver has to process this. It's funny because some people think it helps sleep, like, oh, it helps me wind down. Oh, it helps me like get tired. but it actually wrecks your deep sleep and your REM sleep, which increases nighttime wake ups. So without you maybe even knowing, it causes like dysregulation there. It obviously dehydrates you, which doesn't help anything, any metabolic functions in your body. And one thing for sure is it lowers your heart rate variability. I noticed when I drank alcohol, my HRV, my heart rate variability, would just plummet. And heart rate variability is essentially like your your uh, your sympathetic nervous system's ability to like um, it, ability to like regulate your heart rate. So meaning your heart rate has all this dynamic ability to recover and relax and respond. What happens is when you drink alcohol, it's a sympathetic stimulator, which is, the fight or flight, and it leads to like sluggishness and lowered HRV, lowered recovery. One of the other things that I'm still kind of shitty at prioritizing, but there's research that suggests that like blue light and screens before bed really messes with your brain chemistry. It actually has been shown to suppress melatonin by up to like 90%, making it hard to fall asleep. So doom scrolling at night, television even does this. But try to turn the TV off like at least an hour before bed. Try to stay away from like all screens if possible. Because then what'll happen is if you have this blue light stimulation in your retina, it delays REM sleep and it reduces your memory and memory consolidation and recovery. So one of the most important things your brain does when you're sleeping is it reorganizes information. Your body's ability to like assimilate all the events and the information you consume during the day. If you're not providing your body the right environment to be able to shut down and get that proper REM and deep sleep, it can kill like your memory consolidation. So you can do things like wear blue blockers, do red light therapy and things like that. But literally the easiest thing to do is just make sure you have like a screen curfew, just no screens at least an hour before bed, easy fix right there. I just have to be disciplined. One of the things that has and I see this like because right now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put muscle on my body, and I've increased my calories pretty significantly, and I found my resting heart rate is up, my HRV has dipped a touch, but it does mess with your sleep a little bit, especially if you're eating too close to bedtime. Sometimes when I haven't got all my calories in the day, I'll eat too late, and what it does, it spikes your blood sugar, and your digestion, right? Which keeps your body temp high. And one of the things your body does is it drops your core temp, which can disrupt when your body can't do that. It disrupts your ability to fall asleep, which, as we discussed, it impairs your body's ability to release growth hormone for metabolic repair, as well as testosterone. So like ideally you're not eating 2 to 3 hours before bed. For me, I found like 2 hours is pretty good. I think most people will probably do fine with 2 hours before bed. And you want to avoid any like processed foods in that window as well. Try to minimize those insulin spikes. One of the things you can do too is if you are eating late in the day is try to walk right after you eat, even just 10 minutes postprandial walking. It can reduce your blood sugar spikes significantly. Hidden stimulants and caffeine. This is a big one. If you didn't know, caffeine's half-life is like 5 to 6 hours. Meaning if you're drinking coffee even after noon or 1 o'clock, you may still have some caffeine metabolizing in your body like at 9 p.m. So like pre-workout supplements have sneaky stimulants, especially if you're working out later in the day. So what you want to do is you want to make sure, like if you're going to take pre-workout or if you're going to drink coffee or take caffeine, you want to make sure you do that prior to noon. Try to avoid any stimulants past that midday. So one thing that I experienced too that really screwed up my sleep was like chronic stress plus overtraining. So essentially like under recovering. So like too much high intensity interval training or chronic endurance type of training without recovery really kills your deep sleep. It messes with your cortisol. So things you can do if you are training really hard is try to implement some like evening meditation. I'm going to give you kind of like my top 10 things you can do to optimize your sleep, but magnesium is one of them. Can help your nervous system calm down and help you recover. And interestingly enough, if you're eating low carb, and I've helped quite a few patients at this point fix their sleep just by eating carbohydrate. A lot of people will be shocked to hear that. And I'm not saying eat a bunch of like breads, pastas, bagels, cereals, and muffins. We're talking if you're doing quite a bit of high intensity interval or CrossFit type training, like you're doing 3 or 4 hit workouts in a week, or if you're doing a lot of aerobic endurance, if you're training for a marathon or a triathlon or anything like that, you want to make sure you're getting some carbs to really replenish your glycogen storage in your muscle. When you're not eating enough carbohydrate with a lot of training, what happens is that can create cortisol spikes at night and screw up your sleep. So if you're waking up a bunch at night and you're on a low carb diet, try to include some, sweet potato, rice, roots, tubers, shoots, that kind of stuff with particularly your evening meal, and see how you do. That's helped a lot of people. So let's talk about tactical fixes. So these are some things that have been tried and true in my experience. I've helped advise a lot of patients to help improve their sleep with these 8 things. So we'll just list them out and see if any of those resonate. So the first one, and you've probably heard this, this is a really easy fix, is that you make sure your room is cold and dark. You want to make sure your room is between like 65 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and make sure you have like totally blacked out curtains. So any light that's penetrating your room, whether it's from like street lamps or whether it's from like a cell phone or an alarm clock or anything like that, you want to get that stuff out of your bedroom. We won't hit on like electromagnetic frequencies, but you want to try to get all those away from, your sleeping environment. Just get all like stimulation out of your bedroom, and make sure, like, I'm a big proponent, like bedtime, or your bed is for sleep and sex. That's it. Like, your body creates associations with places. You want to make sure your bed is a place where it's like, it's relaxing. It's time for bed. You can read a little bit, of course, sex, if you're with your partner. But other than that, like, you definitely don't want to be watching TV in bed. If you have a TV in your bedroom, like, get that thing out of there. Nothing wrecks sleep more than like a TV in your bedroom. When I'm at a hotel room and I'm traveling, like, I don't even turn that thing on. Like, that thing does not belong in a bedroom. So that's number 2, is kill the screens, right? So no screens at least an hour before bed. Get the TV out of your bedroom, get your cell phones and alarm clocks like away from, particularly like your nightstand. Just get them away from wherever you're sleeping. You don't want to get any of that light penetration. Helpful supplements, magnesium and glycine. Myself, I take magnesium glycinate on training days, so I'll take that before bed. It's a supplement that can help lower cortisol, because you want your cortisol to dip and to lower prior to bedtime. It helps with that melatonin stimulus. It helps with that circadian rhythm, sleep-wake cycle. So it helps promote deep sleep. I've talked to a lot of patients that they take magnesium glycinate and it says it gives them crazy dreams, which can be the case. You just want to make sure you're not taking too much. Like, even just a little dose will do you with, the magnesium glycinate, which is a really good one to take before bed. There's other types of magnesium, but magnesium glycinate is my favorite. Let's see. I think the dose that I take is typically, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 200 milligrams. Usually, like, the capsules will be anywhere between 200 to 300 milligrams. So between 200 to 400 milligrams is pretty much all you need for muscle recovery, sleep relaxation, that type of thing. Number 4 is consistent sleep schedule. I can't emphasize this enough. Making sure you're going to bed at the same time every night and getting up at the same time in the morning. That way your body loves rhythm and patterns, right? I stress this with my chiropractic care with people, with your exercise routines, with your bedtime routines, especially, creating that wind down schedule, going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time in the morning. It really regulates your hormones that way. A lot of people, they screw this up on the weekends and it sends them in a tailspin. And then they're trying to catch up Monday, Tuesday. If you can, try to get to bed at the same time, even on weekends, like Fridays, Saturdays. I know for us old people, this is a little easier. Old people with kids, for your younger person, I understand, that's the time where you want to go out and have a good time. But as much as possible, try to keep it as routine and regular as you can. One sleep hack that is way underrated is getting morning sunlight. Getting morning sunlight into your eyes. So just that low level light kind of at the horizon when the sun comes up, it regulates your circadian rhythm. When it hits your eyeballs, it has effects on the brain that help regulate that rhythm, and it helps natural melatonin production, particularly later in the day. You can do things like red light therapy, which helps mimic sunset and wind down. So that's a nice little hack there too. But easiest thing is just get outside. You can do. I'm a big proponent in the Weaponized Body program to get outside in the morning, right at dawn. No, dusk. Sorry, right at dusk, and try to get a little bit of that light into your eyes. So no sunglasses, just a little bit of light in your eyes and some movement. Morning sex actually is one of the hacks here. Your testosterone is the highest it will be first thing in the morning for both men and women. So this is a great time to have sex. It actually helps regulate your hormones. Believe it or not, it helps with your sleep cycles. So, you can tell your wife or your husband, like, hey, I learned this thing on the Weaponized Body podcast. We just need to start having sex in the morning. That's going to help with our sleep cycles. Morning fasted cardio. I'm a big fan of this. Bodybuilders are onto something with this. Like I said, I'm a big proponent of walking or rucking or doing a little bit of morning fasted cardio, even 20 minutes. Really helps. So we're talking low level exercise, like zone 2, if you will, like your heart rate's at like 60% of your max. And doing that for just an extended period of time, that really helps set the tone for the day. It helps set the tone with your metabolism, with your blood sugars. Believe it or not, it helps with sleep later in the day. And finally, number 8 is no caffeine after 12 p.m. and no alcohol. I know, buzzkill. If you are going to do alcohol, do it earlier in the day. That's why I say people are onto something with this day drinking thing. If I'm on vacation and I want to have a couple drinks, I'll try to do it earlier in the day. I try not to have any alcohol like 4 or 5 hours before bed. It really just crushes your sleep, makes you feel like garbage the next day. So sleep being the ultimate biohack, if you don't fix it, you're just fighting an uphill battle. Like, you're not going to biohack your way out of shitty sleep. It's one of the big 5 levers I talk about. Optimizing sleep is a must. It's an absolute must for anybody who, you have hormonal issues, you have, energy problems, you have libido problems, you have recovery issues, you have problems putting on muscle, you have like brain issues as far as like, attention or anxiety or depression issues. One of the most common symptoms of like chronic sleep deprivation is just, anxiety, right? If you have anxiety and you're not optimizing your sleep, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So try these fixes, like just even try these for 7 days, track your performance, get a tracker, like, don't do anything different, track your sleep, and then try these things and see how it impacts your sleep, see how you look, feel, perform. And if you have wins with your sleep struggles, go ahead and tag me on Instagram at the Weaponized Dad, or tag, the Weaponized Body Podcast. And I'd love to hear, your successes with your sleep hacks, with your sleep improvements. I'd love to hear how it's improving your life and your performance, health, recovery, etc. And if you like this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.